Welcome to the 700 Club, and thanks for joining with us. In a surprise announcement, President Trump said the U.S. will stop bombing the Houthis in Yemen. He says both sides agree not to attack each other.
So far, the Houthis haven't publicly confirmed the agreement. They're also vowing to continue attacking Israel. Chris Mitchell reports from Jerusalem.
Trump made the stunning announcement during an Oval Office meeting.
The Houthis have announced that they are not, or they've announced to us at least, that they don't want to fight anymore. And we will honor that. And we will stop the bombings. And they have capitulated.
Oman, who helped negotiate the agreement, said the Houthis agreed to stop attacks on U.S. ships in the Red Sea. The Houthis, however, say they are, quote, evaluating the ceasefire proposal. The announcement appears to leave Israel on its own to defend itself against the Houthis. The Iranian-backed terror group says it will continue to attack Israel, warning they're going to hit the Jewish state so hard in coming days that all Israelis should stay in their bomb shelters. That threat comes after Israeli warplanes devastated the Houthis' main shipping port and its airport in attacks this week. Video showed airliners blown apart and buildings ablaze at the airport in Sana'a.
It is also the airport, as I understand it, that is highly strategic, through which arms are coming that are coming from Iran and other places that are used in these missile attacks on Israel.
The massive strike was retaliation for the Houthis hitting Israel's Ben Gurion airport with a missile Sunday.
I said that the Houthi attack would be answered, not with bang, and we're done, but with bangs.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu warned those bangs could soon hit the Houthis' main backer as well.
And this also concerns the patron of the Houthis, Iran, without whose approval and long-term support, the Houthis cannot carry out their criminal missile attack on us.
Israel's defense minister branded Tehran and its proxies the Iranian octopus as he threatened the regime.
You bear direct responsibility for every attack by the Houthi octopus arm against the state of Israel, and you will also bear the full consequences.
Iran claims the Houthis in Yemen are acting on their own.
All accusations against Iran in connection with what Yemenis are doing are baseless.
Meanwhile, President Trump is reiterating his desire to make a deal rather than bomb Iran to keep it from developing nukes.
This is really crunch time. I would tell you, for Iran and for their country, this is a very important time for Iran. This is the most important time in the history of Iran for Iran. And I hope they do what's right. But they can't have a nuclear weapon. And if they choose to go a different route, it's going to be a very sad thing. And it's something we don't want to have to do, but we have no choice. They're not going to have a nuclear weapon. They're not going to have a nuclear weapon.
Well, CBN Middle East Bureau Chief Chris Mitchell joins us now from Jerusalem. So, Chris, did the announcement of a ceasefire with the Houthis take the Israelis by surprise, and do they have any concerns about this?
Well, they do have concerns, and right now Israeli media has been reporting, Gordon, that it really did take Israel by surprise, and apparently they weren't informed in advance. The concerns they have is that why not include Israel in that ceasefire with the Houthis? The Houthis agreed, apparently, to stop attacking shipping in the Middle East, but they're pledging to continue to hit Israel. And some wonder, and maybe extrapolating, could this mean that the U.S. may strike a deal with Iran that is good for the U.S. but ignores the needs of Israel? Now, President Trump said in our report there Iran won't get a nuclear weapon. The concern, I think, here in Israel is how will that be achieved? And a deep concern about a bad deal. Now, what would a bad deal be? That allowing Iran to keep its centrifuges, keep enriching uranium, anything less than the total destruction of the nuclear infrastructure of Iran.
Does this deal with the Houthis signal a more isolationist role for the U.S. in the Middle East, that as long as our interests are being protected, and maybe a narrow view of our interests, that they'll allow these continued attacks against Israel?
I think that's a concern, and I think I've heard reports, Gordon, that within the White House there are different views towards the Middle East. More of an isolationist stance that they want to keep out of the Middle East, and they want to do an Iranian nuclear deal to avoid perhaps a wider regional war. So I think that is the concern, and I think that's some of the way that some people are interpreting this agreement with the Houthis and the U.S. And also, it comes just a few days before President Trump's trip to the Middle East, I think coming Monday.
Well, it just seems to me it would absolutely trigger a regional war if the U.S. says we'll sit on the sidelines as long as you don't attack us. It pretty much sends a signal that it'll go ahead and attack Israel, and so Israel will have no choice. They'll have to respond. President Trump says he'll make yet another big announcement before his trip next week. What's the expectation in Israel?
Well, he said he was going to very, very big announcement. He's going to, as big as it gets, he said. But he said it's very positive. It's really a big tease. He also said it's one of the most important announcements that have been made in many years. Now, there's a range of possibilities of what people here in Israel are thinking. One is a deal between the U.S. and Iran. The other is that it could be Saudi Arabia be joining the Abraham Accords. Some people think that might qualify the way President Trump has framed it. There's a conference that's going to be called MAGA in the Desert, a conference to boost investing in the U.S. But a lot of people are watching and waiting to see what this big announcement is, apparently very soon.
Well, I think he's kind of signaling it, isn't he? He's saying we're no longer going to call it the Persian Gulf. We're going to call it the Arabian Gulf.
Right.
If there's going to be a peace deal between Israel and Saudi Arabia, if they'll join the Abraham Accords, yes, that would be monumental.
It would be monumental, and that is a signal, perhaps, has to deal with Saudi Arabia.
All right. Well, let's turn to Gaza and just the ongoing tragedy there. President Trump says he has information there are only 21 hostages still alive. What can you tell us about that?
Well, Israel still says officially there are 24. The reason, Gordon, is that they don't change the number unless they can be, quote, definitively confirmed. We understand 59 are remaining, 24 according to Israel, 21 according to President Trump. You know, last night I was at an event welcoming Ambassador Mike Huckabee to Israel. It was at the Friends of Zion Museum. And we heard the testimony from a man named Omir. He was in the tunnels for 505 days, Gordon. And he comes out of the tunnels and he said God was with him. And he said, just had an amazing testimony of how he survived such horrible conditions, being isolated and alone. We also had testimonies from parents of a man named Guy, who's still in captivity, a heart-wrenching testimony. And it's all just indicative of what Israelis have been suffering since October 7th and why it's so important to continue to pray for the hostages.
Yes, and let's continue to pray for Ambassador Huckabee. He's walking into a very difficult assignment, but I know he's going to handle it with grace and with faith and with a lot of hope. Chris, thanks for joining with us.